Hey folks, Josh Hager here with Bearded Bee Works. We are going to get in some hives today and talk a little bit about the honey flow, and we're going to talk about drawing comb out. I picked up a hitchhiker coming back from the Nashville Area Beekeepers Association. He was over there speaking today. So we've got Kamon Reynolds out here today to help us shoot a little video.
It's going to be fun. It's an awesome time of the year. Getting to work bees in May is you only get a little short window of it a year, so you got to get all you can.
Yep. So basically what I have, I'm coming towards the end of an expansion, and I've grown to about 50 hives, and I don't have enough honey supers for everything. So I'm in the process of drawing out honey supers, and we're just going to talk a little bit about, you know, methods for that, what your options are, and trying to keep the bees moving in the right direction and storing honey without having swarms. So we're going to get in a box here.
I guess you want the smoke.
Give me a little smoke there. So this top box was drawn out, and so they just immediately went to storing on it. A lot of it is already capped. See if I can get a frame out of here. It's either capped or they're in the process of capping. So it's capped on the outer edge and full in the center. And the bottom box had some drawn comb in it, or the middle box, the blue box there, had some drawn comb, but not a lot. All right, give me a little more smoke here.
Yeah, I really need to have you, Josh, show up at my place to help me take those deep boxes off. I'm really enjoying this more than I should.
Yeah, that is one major drawback to deep boxes is the weight, especially once you get over waist high. Probably at some point I'm going to have to make the swap to mediums, but for right now we're sticking with the deeps. So, Kamon, there's a lot of different methods to, you know, encouraging the bees to draw comb out. I'm drawing about between 40 and 50 supers during the flow right now, and the way I've been doing, I've just been pulling up a frame of brood or honey, something to encourage the bees to come up in the next box, the new super. Been dropping one in the center and then shuffling those around as they draw them to kind of checkerboard. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, some of that's really good, and I'll just say a thing or two because some of it's good and some of it could be real bad. So, for example, he said brought some brood up. Well, that really does encourage the bees to go up and start drawing that foundation out this time of the year, because when you bring up larvae, not capped brood, but larvae, it takes thousands and thousands of visits just for one frame to be properly fed, and they also need to get pollen and bee bread to and eat that so they can create that jelly. So they want to store that really close to the brood. So if you bring that from the bottom box and say bring it up here to the second box with a bunch of foundations, they're going to come up there and they're like, we need somewhere to store the resources next to the brood because this is super inefficient. Yep. And so they really want to draw out that foundation. However, you know, you don't want to bring that frame up and stick it up on the wall where it can get chilled. You want it to be more in the center, and you wouldn't want to like go from the bottom box and stick it up in the third box. You want to stick it close so they can keep that brood warm, but like you said, bring honey up too, maybe like a partially filled nectar frame or something. Yep. Or bee bread. Yeah, it really makes a difference because bees view comb as theirs. Foundation is just something that's in their general area. But once they start drawing combs on those foundations, they really go after it. And so for you new beekeepers that don't have a lot of a comb supply, these little tricks can help prevent swarming and retard that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, from what I can see right now, these bees are going after it on drawing this foundation out.
So one thing that I also do is I under super. So this white box, I'm basically running a single brood chamber. I don't know if you can see it. You can see, just barely see that yellow box there at the bottom. But there's a queen excluder, and then the white box is a new honey super, and it's been, you know, I've placed a frame in there as well, a frame of brood in there as well. So I try to keep that under super, to keep that undrawn foundation as close to the brood box as I can.
And that is a good idea. They will draw foundation on top and work their way up, but they will draw it faster with having the foundation closer to the brood area. And if you can, it's always nice to bring up, like he's got like right here, this is what he supposed 70% drawn thereabouts, and they're devoted to that box. That is their box.
Yeah.
So you just bring that up and put that foundation down below, and that works real good.
Okay, so give me a little more smoke. We'll go down to the next box and talk about it. Look and see what they're doing down there. We were discussing a while ago, this is just kind of an average size production colony. This colony to the right here, this is kind of one of the superstars that I have. This is just kind of an average box of bees.
You can tell they're healthy though. They're drawing out a good bit of foundation. They're a good healthy hive.
So one of the issues that I ran into last year, we all know that the flow was not that great last year, the fall flow.
Yeah, fall flow was almost non-existent.
So during the fall flow, I was moving down here. And so my bees didn't get the attention that they had. So I didn't get them down here until about, I think it was late October, early November. And so I had to come in and do what little bit of warm weather I had. I did do some feeding to try to catch them back up. I did pull honey early last year, which helped them. So they got to keep some of the spring flow, but I'd also made a lot of splits after that. So the bees that I split from, they had quite a bit of resources, but the bees that I split, the new colonies that I built, were pretty light.
Right.
And so I did some supplemental feeding when I got them here, and a lot of stuff went through the winter with a candy board on top. I do quite a few candy boards if needed. And so this was probably one of those colonies that just kind of got a little neglect during the fall flow, and could have been stronger if we'd had a better flow, or if I would have been able to be a little more attentive with them.
It was hard. I mean, no matter if you gave your bees a lot of attention or no attention, the fall flow was still rough on the bees regardless, and cluster size was down coming out of winter this year for everybody, from some of the best beekeepers I know all the way down to the guy with 1 or 2 hives. But yeah, a little TLC goes a long ways too. But yeah, it's a nice looking bee yard from what I can tell. They're busy.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, they're doing pretty well for what what we come out of winter with. I didn't have any. Very lucky. Didn't have any official winter loss. I come out with 3 queens that were either had just disappeared or were drone layers, and I had to combine those up. But everything overwintered really well this year.
That's awesome.
So back to the foundation. This frame right here was open brood. It's capped at this point now, and they've drawn out about to here. And then it's about time to go in and checkerboard these up to just encourage that drawing. Let's talk about the flow and where we're at and what's to come.
So one thing y'all have to realize, that we as beekeepers must realize things are pretty dynamic. Back in 2006, 2007, 2008, we got a lot more warmer winter weather. So what we be experiencing right now, back in those days, was quite a bit different. We're just now starting privet flow a little bit. There's years where privet flow's done by now. And so we're a little bit behind, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means the bloom was delayed, and a lot of times the bees are going along with that. So I think we're on track for a really good spring flow. We were able to get the black locust and the tulip poplar. We've been able to get enough rain to keep things going, but still not too much rain. Get a lot of sunny days. Bees are getting out and working.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I'd say we're going to be in the top, at a scale of 1 to 10, 8.5, 9, 10 in a ranking of honey production year. So this is really exciting. We still have privet to go, basswood. Clover is just now starting to really become a contributor. The white Dutch and a lot of the wild stuff, and there's several other things coming into play. Sumac that hasn't started yet. So yeah. I'm excited. This colony right here, it's hard to know what the future holds, but even though they're a medium-sized colony, they've drawn out almost 1 box completely. They've got one that's probably 60–70% drawn out. That one's probably around 15 to 20%. But give this colony 4 more weeks, they could have a full box of honey and maybe a partial and have drawn 3 deep boxes worth of comb, which is worth a lot. The combs are so valuable.
Yeah, and that's really where we're at. Of course, we want to make all the honey that we can.
Sure.
But, you know, it's just as important for us to get our supers drawn out, you know, nice, straight, clean supers that'll be ready for next year. And then, you know, next year we can really maximize that honey production.
Oh yeah, those brood combs right there, everyone has different opinions on them, but I'll keep a good brood comb for 10 years. You know, you don't have to keep them that long, but I've never seen any issues doing that. I've had some run as long as 15, 16 years. And, you know, so there's those things can be used for a long time in making splits or kept free from brood and used for honey. As far as honey supers go, I have some honey supers that are older than this guy by a good bit. And they're still you know, bees are still loading up full of honey. Wonderful asset.
So it's May 15th today, and from what I've seen on the farm here, the bees are, like you're saying, they're really working the clover, they're working blackberry, and they're just starting to hit this privet as it's coming out. I've seen bees on privet as well. So that's the 3 big ones that I'm seeing right now. There's, you know, there's probably more that I haven't seen.
Yeah, there's a lot of little contributors like vetch.
Yep.
They're getting some stuff, even occasionally from things like kudzu. A lot of them aren't big players. Blackberry, yeah, is one of the big players here in Tennessee. So far, I haven't seen a strikeout on any of the blooms so far. Whenever all those things can line up, it's awesome. They're just trying to keep ahead of the swarming. That's the trick.
Sure. Yep.
And that is tricky.
Yeah, I've seen the swarm urge drop dramatically over the last couple weeks. So I feel like that we're, you know, getting out of that, and it won't be too long at all where we all hate to lose a swarm, but a lost swarm won't mean as much honey loss. You know, basically the brood that's in here now is next month's, you know, honey crop, so to speak, or a few weeks away. And if you got a good population now, especially through the end of this month, you know, you're still, if you do lose a swarm late like that, you haven't lost as much honey as if you'd have lost it last month.
Oh yeah, and yeah, we're kind of over the main hump of swarming. It's still there, but it's definitely lessened, and beekeepers can take a little bit of a sigh of relief. But if you don't have bees that are actively trying to draw a comb out, and one of the things that I guess we should have mentioned, he's got a queen excluder down in here, which if you put a queen excluder on and don't pull up a frame of brood or a comb or something like that, they a lot of times won't cross that excluder to get to foundation. So yeah, you got to bring something up or they just won't pass through that excluder. A lot of beekeepers put the excluder on, drop some foundation, and wonder why their bees swarmed. They don't like to cross up into foundation, especially if there's an excluder too. But these bees right here, I mean, new comb is awesome. I get excited about that almost as much as honey.
Sure.
Because we make a lot of splits, and of course we sell nukes too, and honey, nukes, both of those are great products to sell in Tennessee. A lot of people appreciate a high quality local nuke. And gosh, we need to start charging more. Apparently I've been seeing nukes go for $225 here in Tennessee this year.
Yeah.
And I thought we were doing pretty good at $190, so
yeah.
Everything's going up. But and one thing you probably can't see, we're on like a concrete pad here, and there are bees dead all over the concrete. So Josh is moving things around. There's just bees all over the place. But this really gives you an idea of the scale of how many bees die per day. If a queen's laying 1,500 eggs a day, at some point there will be 1,500 bees dying every day. So 10 days is 15,000 bees. And you know, what do you have here, like 25, 30 hives in this yard?
Probably 25, yep.
You know, so we're literally talking probably 25, 35,000 bees dying in this yard every day. And of course, a lot of them are dying out in the fields and stuff too. But bees are extremely dynamic. So as beekeepers, our job is to, at this time of the year, it's awesome. You know, we got pollens coming in, we have nectar coming in. Everything's as good as it's going to get.
Yep.
But when we get towards late July, mid-July, especially August, and if we have a bad fall flow, heaven forbid, again in September, you know, then our bees nutritionally aren't getting the diverse pollens. A lot of times there's no nectar and they're robbing, so there's more stress on each other, and it's harder to do things. So as beekeepers, that's really when we have to double down and work the hardest, is in July, August, and September, because in Tennessee, those 3 months right there are the most critical of the entire year for setting the colony's health up for the next season. And we don't have rough winters here, but we can have some rough summers. And if this many bees are dying every day, but the queen's not laying enough to keep up with the death rate, the colonies will shrink really fast. So this is, all these dead bees, is as crazy as it seems, is very normal, but it's something as beekeepers we gotta realize.
Sure.
So I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well, we hope that helps you all a little bit on drawing comb out. There's a bunch of different methods. We just scratched the surface here, but we just wanted to, you know, make folks aware of a couple little techniques that can help draw that comb out, and you know how to use an excluder and how not to. But Kamon, I appreciate you visiting the bee yard. Kamon talked today at the Nashville Area Beekeepers Association about splits. Talked about 7 ways to make splits. That was a great talk, and I think helped a lot of people out.
Thanks.
And we appreciate you taking the time while you're in town to come by and see us and do a little video.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to see you and your family, and get to hang around bees. Bee glue. But yeah, it's been a blast, and I'm sure we'll do it again sometime.
All right, thanks again.
Thanks, buddy.